Good morning. Welcome to regular council meeting for the Corporation of Township of Minden Hills for Thursday, February 12th, 2026. Before we begin the meeting today, it's important to acknowledge the horrific tragedy that took place in Tumbler Ridge, BC. A rural community uh, like our own. Minden Hills joins in with many others across the country, extending condolences to all those who have lost loved ones as a result of this terrible violence. Our prayers should be with the victims and their families and everybody who is going to be reliving that incident for some time to come. In review of today's agenda here, there will be a closed session meeting that will take place near the end of our meeting. Madam Clerk, please proceed with a roll call.
Counselor Sisson,
Present.
Counselor Saney,
Present.
Counselor McKelvey,
Present.
Counselor Johannesson,
Present.
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 Mayor Carter.
Present. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Minden Hills is located on Treaty 20 Michisagi territory and in the traditional territory of the Michisagi and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which are Curve Lake, Rama, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. We acknowledge the shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original Indigenous inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. I call this meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. And clerk, please proceed with the resolution for the approval of the agenda.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Shell, seconded by Counselor McKelvey. Be it resolved that the February 12th, 2026 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
All those in favor? That is carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we move to 7.1. Adoption of the minutes of the January 22nd regular council and January 29th special council meeting. Any comments or amendments? Seeing none, please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Sisson, seconded by Counselor McKelvey. Be it resolved that council approves the council meeting minutes as follows: January 22nd, 2026 regular council and January 29th, 2026 special council.
All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to payments of accounts. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor McKelvey, seconded by Counselor Sisson. Be it resolved that the accounts in the amount of $1,363,675.80 be approved for payment.
All those in favor? That is carried. In the mayor's report, don't have much other than to say that on Monday or Tuesday of this week, Tuesday, we had a community safety and well-being meeting. And there were a number of people who spoke to the issues that we have here in, mostly in Haliburton County, but obviously in Minden, and the difficulty in getting services for people who are in need of services. In some cases, that's to help people find a job, to help people get mental health assistance, drug treatment, and so on and so forth. There is going to be a larger meeting discussion about that in the very near future, but it is a very complex situation with lots of different groups that are both government, non-government, and volunteer groups and whatever that all play a role, and trying to coordinate the services with the need. A, that's very difficult, and B, we probably have much more need than we have services now or the immediate future. So I think this is I would have to say it's a growing problem. Unfortunately, a lot of the fact that we don't have the initial services that act as a prevention for something scaling or escalating into something larger. It means that the OPP are very much involved in things that we hopefully could have taken care of earlier. So something for everybody to think about and as these meetings take place, this is something that we as a whole county have to come together to try to find out how we can address that. Councillor Saini, Roma? Yep.
Sorry. Just perhaps if our clerk could just elaborate back on the, earlier in the agenda, there was the delegations portion, which 6.1 is new for us, and it's an opportunity for the public to be more involved. So I thought maybe we could have a little bit more elaboration on that so that public's aware what the new process is.
So, absolutely. So delegations, we now have two options, for the public to come and entertain delegations to council. 6.1 on our agenda today is basically a delegation, which is more informal. It's a 3-minute delegation that allows the public to reach out to the clerk's department and, book time to come to council and speak to an item that is on that agenda. The other delegation is the same as it's always been. It's more formal delegation, which actually is a presentation or an update to council that takes approximately anywhere from 10 minutes and provides more of an update or an ask and request of council, which can be extended by the chair if so deemed required. So that's basically the difference between the two. We do still ask the public to have the discussion with the clerk's department so we can make sure that we handle these things and ask the questions that we need to ask, just so it flows nicely. And that for public meeting process, if you have a matter in regards to a public meeting process on that agenda, you would speak in that forum under public meeting. So that's sort of a synopsis of those choices, and we're always happy to entertain phone calls. Feel free to call in and ask questions.
Okay. Councillor Saini?
Thank you. Through the chair, I have other Roma meetings this week, and so I will have a full report next session on Roma. Thank you.
Okay, correspondence and communications. The clerk's department received requests for discussion on 2 items from Councillor Saini requesting that correspondence 11.2 and 11.3 be pulled for discussion. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution.
Moved by Councillor Ingram, seconded by Councillor Saini, that council directs staff to pull forward the following items for discussion. 11.2, United Counties of Leeds and Grenville regarding Bill 9, Municipal Accountability Act 2025. 11.3, Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal regarding the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, OCIF. We'll do the next,
Where do you want to go next?
yeah, just call the, all in favor and we'll do the next.
Okay, all in favor? That's carried.
Okay, then I'll do the next one.
Okay.
Moved by Councillor Ingram, seconded by Councillor Saini, that council receives correspondence and communication items 11.1 and 11.4 as information.
All those in favor? That is carried.
Councillor Saini would speak to that.
Go ahead, Councillor Saini, you're on 11.2, United Counties of Leeds and Grenville.
Okay, this is the first one. This regards Bill 9. As everybody knows, we have been trying to get a code of conduct mandatory for a long time. If you were at the conference a couple of years ago, more than 2,000 people stood up in the room saying, we want this. And when the province was there and the ministers were there, it has been postponed and postponed. We have an election year now, and we would really like to see this pass soon. So I'd like to see us support this in terms of another letter similar to this, going before them, supporting that this Code of Conduct, Bill 9 be passed this year, not postponed any longer, and ready for the next group of counselors. So, thank you.
Didn't the minister say that he was moving forward with that?
They have said that for a very long time, yes. So that's why it's really important that we emphasize we want to get this done, not to put off anymore. So this is supporting what other municipalities are doing and making sure it stays high profile until it's passed. Thank you.
You have a resolution.
Through the chair, yes, I do. Moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Ingram, that council receives correspondence 11.2 from the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville regarding Bill 9, Municipal Accountability Act 2025 as information, and that council endorses the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville Resolution Number CC 179, 2025, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, or local MPP in Amo.
All those in favor? As carried. Councillor Sandy, 11.3.
Yes, thank you. This one isn't quite as straightforward. This has to do with the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, the OCIF, and this is a fund that we receive every year that's increased slightly every year. But the agreement for this transfer to the municipalities ends this year. So we need a new agreement. There's a couple things when I look at what our OCIF payment increases this year, it's actually less than what our insurance premiums have gone up. So when you start to look at some of the actual what is required for our infrastructure funding, we're not keeping up with this particular formula. This really has to do with the formula of the province supporting the municipalities and the transfer payments and the whole method that we've already talked to you many times about it being 100 years old. It's not working anymore with the downloading that we have. So I don't have a particular worded resolution other than I'd like to see this given to staff to see how this affects us personally, and then come back with something, but recognizing that this agreement ends in 2026. So what's going to pick up and take its place, and is it going to be better structured funding? So I guess I'm going to ask if we could ask staff to take this and see how it's reconsidered. I don't know if we have a motion worded to that effect or if we need one, but I'd like to follow this through.
CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think there's lots of work being done on sort of getting a message to the province that current funding formulas aren't working for municipalities. I think Councillor Saney, if you want staff to follow up, I would suggest that it's something like collaborating with our colleagues to see how we might affect. I think
That would be terrific.
maybe our
Absolutely.
clerk can. Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead with the resolution.
Okay. Moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Ingram, that council receives correspondence 11.3 from the Township of Edwardsburg and Cardinal regarding Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, OCF, disinformation, and that council directs staff to review levels of provincial funding in conjunction with counterparts to determine the best avenues to highlight financial constraints of the existing provincial funding models and streams.
All those in favor? As carried. Moving on to departmental reports, Public Works. Revoke policy 4. All around town, I see signs saying revoke policy 4.
Good morning, council, and through the chair. I apologize, I'm a little under the weather, so bear with me. So staff are bringing forward a recommendation to revoke policy 4, which is a policy for waste disposal cards and cottage kits. The purpose and intent of the policy is to establish guidelines to govern the distribution of waste cards and the sale of cottage kits. However, we feel that the objectives can be properly addressed through the existing waste bylaw, which will be amended and brought forward to council at a later date, and through operational procedures and administrative controls. Revoking this policy will provide some more flexibility and reduce administrative complexity, eliminate redundancy, and allow waste management practices to be governed more efficiently through these bylaws and operational guidelines, which can be updated more readily to respond to changing regulatory requirements. And I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Questions? Mr. McKelvey?
Just want to make sure like the cards are still going to go out with the tax bills.
So through the chair, that will be the intention. So the interim tax bills are going out early this year. And then this is kind of the purpose of why revoking this policy will help us make quick decisions when processes change in other departments, because there are interdepartmental relations as well. So the new waste cards will not be able to go out in the interim tax bill, and they will have to go out in the final tax bill. Again, the other alternative would be sending them out separately, which we don't like to do, but the timing of the waste cards going out with the final tax bill isn't ideal, but it might have to be done for one final year. And if we can eliminate this policy, then staff will be able to make those operational decisions in real time.
Any other questions? Mr. McKelvey?
I guess my only concern, like I'm fine, like the detail in that policy is crazy. But I just want to make sure that these do go out with the tax bills. It would cost a lot of money to mail these separately, so.
So through the chair, that would be the intention moving forward. But for this year, it looks like it would have to go out with the final tax bill, which as I mentioned, isn't ideal because of the timing of when those go out. But I am working with the treasurer on seeing if we can try to get the final tax bills out a little bit earlier, which would assist. And then hopefully moving forward, we could look at possibly sending these with the interim tax bills.
Mr. Ingram? Just cards then? Is that the idea?
So through the chair, no, there would be a new card this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions? Please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Hennessy, that council receive report 2601 Waste Management, revoke policy 4 Waste Disposal Cards and Cottage Kitchen transformation. And that council approves the recommendation to revoke policy 4 Waste Disposal Cards and Cottage Kits.
All those in favor? That is carried. Moving right along.
Thank you, and through you. So this report is bringing forward a recommendation to reduce the annual garbage bag allotment. Staff are recommending to reduce the annual garbage bag allotment from 156 garbage bags per year to 104 garbage bags per year. This proposed reduction is intended to encourage waste diversion and recycling, ensure sustainable use of landfill capacity, and align with our current waste management practices. The township currently offers several waste diversion and recycling programs, such as textile recycling in the reuse center, and now our new enhanced blue box recycling program. Most recently, council endorsed a new organics program. These programs will allow residents to divert these recyclable and reusable materials from household garbage and keeping these materials then out of the landfill. The proposed allotment of 104 garbage bags per year is considered reasonable for household needs and aligns with practices in other Ontario municipalities. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Mayor Shell?
Through you. I know we use less than half of them for our family of 3. So, do you have a number of how many people would actually have used all of them in a year? I mean, with the new cards too thing, if we decide to take my in-laws garbage, then, like there's the opportunity to share the card back and forth if that person can't go. So are you finding that any of the cards are getting filled up? Because I mean, 104 certainly seems more reasonable.
So through the chair, that's a really good point. So I have had some discussions with staff, and it's very few people that are using their entire card. So that's just another supporting point as to why this is achievable. And then we can continue to look at other garbage bag reduction opportunities in the future, but this is a good starting point.
And it encourages people to do the recycling and take advantage of all the programs, and hopefully we'll extend our landfill.
Through the chair, that's exactly it. We'd like to get voluntary compliance, but of course that isn't always the case. So that's where the waste bylaw can help be a great tool to help us enforce some of these programs and ensure that the recycling and diversion programs are being utilized because they are available.
Any other questions? Councillor Sisson?
So the new card will have 104 spaces instead of 156.
Through the chair, that is correct. So we weren't able to create the card and go out with that reduced garbage bag allotment with the interim tax bill until we received council approval and the reduction. So now that we or hopefully have that approval, we'll be moving forward with that in the new design for the card that'll take effect July 1st of this year.
Any other questions? Let's read the resolution.
Moved by Councillor McKelvey, seconded by Deputy Mayor Shell, that council receive report 2602 Waste Management Reduced Annual Garbage Bag Allotment for information. And that council concurs with the recommendation to reduce the annual garbage bag allotment to 104 garbage bags per year starting July 1st, 2026. And further that council directs staff to incorporate this change into the waste management bylaw 23-34 and present all proposed amendments to future regular council meeting within the first quarter.
All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Ms. Koch. Ms. McGuigan. Whenever you're ready.
Good morning, Mayor and Councilors. So today for the Minden Hills Cultural Center Advisory Committee minutes from the December meeting, just wanted to kind of take note of the Minden Hills Cultural Center Foundation will be doing an open house at the Cultural Center on Monday, February 16th from 12 to 2 p.m. As well as the foundation is sponsoring a public skate on Monday at SG Nesbitt Memorial Arena at 11:30 a.m. as well. But able to answer any other questions for the minutes.
Could you just expand on the open house? What's, for those who haven't read the newspaper or whatever, just tell people a little bit more about what's happening.
Yeah, so the foundation will be having the Minden Rotary Club will be there for food and refreshments, as well as there'll be some nature themed crafts, special interpretive program that's by Basil Conlin, and will bring insect specimens for displays and share the insight of relationships between insects, humans, and environments.
Okay. You would ever want to know. All right. Any questions? Let's read the resolution.
Moved by Councillor McKelvey, seconded by Councillor Sisson, that council receives report 2601 Community Services Department Minden Hills Cultural Center Advisory Committee meeting minutes dated December 16th, 2025 as information.
All those in favor? That's carried. I know hearing the sirens, but our fire chief probably left. Do you want to delay that or do you?
No, I think this is pretty straightforward, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Yeah, and the fire chief sends his regrets. He had to run. Really what's before council is just an updated agreement for medical response between the Minden Fire Department and the Halliburton County Paramedic Services. There are no real significant changes between the former agreement and the one before you today. So we're just looking to renew that agreement. Thank you.
Any questions? Councilor McKelvey?
In the bylaws section of the agenda later on, it speaks to a change that could be made to the tiered response agreement of just being purple and red priorities only could be removed. It looks like we've put the working agreement sort of thing where people have put comments. Also, Schedule A to this is showing that this is an agreement for Algonquin Highlands, not for Minden Hills. And the exception in here talks about Circeum Ski Hill, which probably was a Dysart agreement, I would assume, because that's where Dysart is. So
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we will bring this back. I thought those had all been corrected. Thank you.
All right. So we'll move that to the next agenda. Ms. Doherty, Planning and Development.
Get comfortable. This is brutal.
This information then?
No,
Like you
it's just different. All right. All those in favor of referring that to the next agenda? Please read the resolution.
Okay. Moved by Counselor Sani, seconded by Counselor Ingram, that council receives report 260202 fire update medical response agreement as information. And further that council defers this report to the next meeting.
All those in favor? Let's carry on. Start.
Thank you. Good morning, council. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So report 26-05. This summarizes pending updates to the regional source protection plan that will impact certain township responsibilities under the Clean Water Act. There are other updates to the plan, but I did keep this to just what would impact the township directly. The other ones wouldn't have an impact on our responsibility. Items more specific to staff will be regulating road salt, as well as expanding education and outreach. So we'll be working with our area lead for source protection on those. And then the remainder of the changes are how certain drinking water threats are identified, and that under certain sets of criteria set out in the source protection plan, they'll either be prohibited in vulnerable areas or would require risk management plans, or in certain cases, other design criteria as well. Happy to answer any questions. That's the high level.
Questions, Councilor Ingram?
Chair, thanks, Ms. Amanda. Few questions, because I'm sure everybody's freaking out a little bit about this, but the area of identification for hazards within the vision area, right? You know what I'm talking about? Has that changed?
Through Mr. Chair, no, it has not.
Good.
Same.
So we've already identified what the hazards are within those areas, correct? Difference being that anyone in those areas that has road salt over 100 kilograms stored has to have a plan. Is that correct?
Through Mr. Mayor. So what right now we any of the identified hazards do have risk management plans in place. Once these amendments go through, if anybody within those vulnerable areas or those hazard areas is doing any of these activities, they'll need a new risk management plan.
Is this grandfathered for people already on the old plan, we'll call it?
Through Mr. Mayor, so no. So what the intent is that existing uses of these that are in this list, they'll require risk management plans. Anyone who wanted to introduce it as a new use, it would be prohibited unless they then went through certain steps.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Councilor McKelvey?
Well, when I go back to, there was a map in that 2024 report.
Mhm.
And it, I can see where it shows the wellhead. I'm talking in town of Minden here, which is circulated by the pinky red. But across the river, there's more of it, and I'm still trying to understand why that is.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the determination of the boundaries for the wellhead protection areas and the intake zones is all technical math, well beyond my expertise. I'd have to either look into it or bring someone forward to explain, but it's based on modeling that would have been completed by the Trent Source Protection Coalition. But yeah, so it would be based on anticipated impact areas.
Okay, and so back to the report where it lists the amendments will implement policies. And it has several bullet points here. And when it says identifies that the township may regulate storage of road salt, sorry. When it says may, have we decided we're going to anyways, or are we going to?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, it is something that we have the option of doing. in the next report, we'll speak to the fact that we're including it in the amendment that, again, we may be able to do it, but we're not required to do it. So that will be a future report. Once these are in place, we will bring something forward to discuss whether or not the township wants to further regulate road salt. It will be, there are certain policies that will come into play where it will have to be a consideration for developments that are going to have those large quantities, but we aren't required to further regulate it beyond that.
Okay, I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, source water protection is extremely important. I understand that. I just don't want to do more than what we're required to do.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, as like these are in this first report here, they'll be in the SPP, they won't have any effect. Maybe that conversation is a little bit easier to have in the next report about the actual amendments, but anything we put into the amendments, we did not go beyond what we're already required to do. We've indicated if we are permitted to do it, but not necessarily going beyond what's already required in the SPP.
Okay. So the other thing, it seems to be applying to all rural areas, but it's just applying to the source water protection, the wellheads.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes. So the policies are, yes, the three areas that we have that are identified boundaries. There is reference to significant groundwater areas and highly sensitive aquifers, but we don't have policies specific to them. We've included the mention of them, but none of that impacts Minden specifically at this point in time.
Okay. And then the other thing, and maybe it's in the next one, because I've made reference to 5H and I'm not sure where that is, but I'm concerned about the storage of snow in Kimmel that we use. Is that going to be impacted? Because it's.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure offhand. It might be more relevant to the.
Okay, maybe we'll talk about it when we see those maps then.
Yeah.
Okay, my last question is the risk management plans. What's involved in that? Obviously a consultant.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so there's field verification so going to the site. If an identified drinking water threat is at that property, then the risk management official negotiates an agreement with the property owner for what would allow that continued use on the property, but where it protects drinking water sources.
So do those come back to the township then to execute or?
No, they are strictly executed between the risk management official and the property owners. And then they're provided to the Source Protection Coalition.
Councilor England? Councilor Sisson?
But myself, I have to be concerned about keeping livestock. It's just, responsibility. Is that just a program, not an education program? Proposing for keeping the livestock?
Through Mr. Mayor, so not that we're proposing, but that we're being required to do. It would, so it's an outreach and education that will be incorporated, but the more it's intended to kind of allow people in rural areas to think about groundwater, for example, but it won't restrict anything unless you're in an actual like the Minden, Lutterworth Pines or Kinmount areas.
Any questions? Let's read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Saney, second by Counselor Youngson, that council receives report 2605 planning source water protection overview of section 36 amendments under the Clean Water Act as information.
All those in favor? That's carried. Carry on.
So through Mr. Mayor, more on source water protection, this next report. So under the Clean Water Act and the current source protection plan, the township is required to have official plan policy and zoning regulations that will ensure compliance with significant threat policies that are in the act and the source protection plan. There are specific policies identified in the act and the source protection plan that we have to address. So that's what's been included. However, we did also incorporate any of the anticipated new policies that will be in the new source protection plan once that's been approved by the ministry. Reason being because we're anticipating sort of any day now that approval will come through. And this negates having to go through like another set of amendments. Generally, the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment will identify the vulnerable land. So that will be the mapping, identify what activities are prohibited, and then also what would be required in order to permit what's an otherwise prohibited activity. So that can include the provincial exemptions or instruments, approval from the risk management official, or certain design requirements, depending on what the threat is. So staff did work with the Source Protection Coalition team on this, as well as our risk management official to develop the amendments. So then at this point, we wanted to bring it forward to council for your review and information. And then next steps would be to continue consulting, but it would be with other agencies and the public at that point.
Any questions, Councillor Saini?
Just to say, I'm glad to see this at this particular meeting, and this will bring us into the source water protection legislation compliant. And it's before my next board meeting in March that I can now say we're compliant. So greatly appreciated this coming to this meeting. Thanks.
The questions? Councillor McKelvey?
Okay, so here, if you go into the actual proposed official plan amendment, and that's where it talks about a lot of the things that are going to be prohibited. So what happened? So to me, I read that to mean that even if somebody's already doing this, they can't anymore. So that's why I just need to make sure that I understand this.
Pardon me. So through you, Mr. Mayor. So generally speaking, existing uses that are identified as a drinking water threat will be still permitted, but may require, depending on the nature of that use, a risk management plan. This is more specific to future drinking water threats that might be introduced. So appreciating if that's not clear from that we can amend that wording just so it's quite clear that existing uses would require one thing and future uses would require something else.
That probably would be a good idea. Where it says an activity that takes water from an aquifer or surface water body without returning the water taken to the same. What does that mean? So if somebody's taking water out of the lake or the river or and treating it obviously before they drink it, is that what that's talking about?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd actually have to go and look more like in depth at the technical requirements this is just the list that's provided in the source protection plan. I believe that is more relevant to properties that require like a permit to take water, not just like somebody taking it from
Okay, the 10,000
the lake for their
liters
home.
or something.
Yeah. Yeah, there would be
The
more,
golf course would be probably.
yes, yeah, there would be more criteria listed specifically within the source protection plan. The next provision under that says that these land uses are not intended to prohibit typical household use or practice. So that wouldn't exempt then like just somebody who, has their cottage, for example, and takes water from the lake.
The Nestle could put up a bottling plant.
Correct.
Any other questions? Let's read the resolution.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Shell, seconded by Councilor McKelvey, that council receive report 2606 planning as information, and further that council directs staff to schedule the requisite public meeting under the Planning Act for each of the official plan and zoning bylaw amendments as included in report 2606.
All those in favor? That is, sorry. Keep your hands up again. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 2607.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so 2607 is a request to renew or extend a land lease over the unopened road allowance that is occupied by a portion of the parking lot. I think the it's a fairly straightforward agreement, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Councilor Ingram?
Can we charge them what they raised the rates for us last year for the lease?
The only problem with it is that they would add 10% to it and then charge us back. Councilor McKelvey?
I just don't know why they don't apply to have it closed and conveyed. Is there some reason they don't want to buy it?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure why the previous company that owned the property did not. I did bring it up as a potential option to the current landowners, and they were certainly interested in that. We decided to put, if you know, subject to council's approval, the agreement in place at this point so that it's there. But we will be probably bringing something back to council to look at that option.
Moved by Counselor McKelvey, seconded by Counselor Sisson, that council receives report 2607 planning as information, and that bylaw 2615 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the land lease agreement with 2540184 Ontario Inc. be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda.
All those in favor? It's carried. Right along to shore allowances.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so report 2608. This is a request to close and convey the shore road allowance in front of 1114 Wessel Road. So this is a unique case in which the house and all the structures are actually on the shore road allowance, but the shore road allowance is also separated from the private property by a public road. The application is contrary to the policy 19 guidelines, which the landowners were notified of. However, they have requested special or further consideration. Staff did assess the possibility, but as outlined in the report, there are a number of concerns, and I would alternatively recommend a license of occupation as a more appropriate mechanism.
Questions? Sir, what's the public road? It's within-
Wessel Road.
West. Okay. Pretty much paid for. Please read the resolution.
Okay. Moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Ingram, that council.
Vicky?
Yeah,
So, like, I totally agree. We should not approve this. That's why, but should we not enforce that they get a license of occupation? Because there's a lot happening on here.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I didn't include it in the resolution as I thought I'd leave it up to council, but certainly if council would like to, then I would suggest adding that to the resolution.
makes sense.
Well, it's just, there's a lot happening on the shoreline road allowance.
Through the chair, just further that staff provide or require a license of occupation. Okay. So moved by Counselor Saney, seconded by Counselor Ingram, that council receive report 2608 planning as information, and that council deny application PL SRA 2025049 as the conveyance would not comply with policy 19 as amended. And further that staff require a license of occupation, and further that council directs staff to require a license of occupation.
All those in favor? That is carried. Moving right along.
Through Mr. Mayor, report 2609 is to pass a bylaw to close and convey the shore road allowance in front of 33 Laxton Lutterworth Boundary Road, and I nothing further to provide.
Any questions? Let's read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Ingram, seconded by Counselor Saney, that council receive report 2609, planning as information, and that bylaw number 2612 be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda to stop up, close, and convey part of the original shore road allowance with respect to application PL SRA 2024055.
All those in favor? That is carried. 610.
Through Mr. Mayor, report 2610 is to pass a bylaw to close and convey the shore road allowance in front of 1155 Hancock Road, and nothing further to add there other.
Questions? Seeing none, let's read the resolution.
Moved by Council McKelvey, seconded by Councillor Sisson, that council receive report 2610 planning's information, and that bylaw number 2613 be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda to stop up, close, and convey part of the original shore allowance with respect to application PLSRA 2025066.
All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Administration. You have to talking about court licenses.
Sure. Pull out my notes here. So the report before council today is in regard to a lease agreement. The township leases approximately 2,800 square feet of this area of the building, which is comprised of the council chambers, public washrooms, hallway area, lobby, and a few of the outlining offices. The usage for this is for courthouse services. The usage of the space has changed over the years for the courthouse. And through negotiation, the new agreement now does reflect the reduced dates that court does utilize the space. Negotiation items are listed in the report. I can go through some of them if council wishes, but they're bullet pointed within the report. The financial implications of the reduction of days does reflect a change in revenues that we do receive. Happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Questions? Seeing none,
Moved by Councillor McKelvey, seconded by Councillor Sisson, that council receives report 2607, administration, court lease agreement, fourth extension is information, and that bylaw 2614 to execute the agreement be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda for approval.
all those in favor? That is carried. Flags also. Okay.
So the next report before council is with respect to the flag etiquette policy. So staff brought this forward in January at a regular council meeting, and council did request a few revisions to remove some of the half-mast occurrences, which are now outlined within the report. There was also a request to add the current and former members of council to the listing, which staff have done that. And happy to address any council or questions that council may have.
Questions, Councillor McKelvey?
I have a question on half-mast. I wrote down here, third paragraph. That it's to stay at half-mast for a minimum of 3 days or until the funeral. And to me, that has to have it added to it, whichever is the first to occur, because it could stay there for months. Like and this was kind of discussed at the last meeting when we looked at the draft. I just think we have to have something in there.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say that's not a difficult amendment to make. We can just make that and pass it as amended today. And we also have that wording in there just to reassure council that it is also at the discretion of the mayor, clerk, and CAO. So we would never, leave it up for that duration of time, but that's an easy amendment to make.
Councillor Ringo.
Through the chair, just a curious question more than anything. When the Prime Minister declares half-mast, do we follow that?
I don't.
No, are we required to follow it, I guess is what I'm asking.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, we're not required. And generally we follow our own flag.
No, I was just wondering with the massacre and.
Right.
Right, okay, thank you.
They do the federal, the provincial.
Okay,
do the
I didn't know federal overrode everything, so that's good, thank you.
Councillor McKelvey.
The wording at the section 2 responsibility says the mayor, CAO, and clerk will authorize the lowering or raising of flags. I think we need to, that means all three of you have to. So I don't think that's what we meant. should be or. And then I just want to make sure Counselor Ingram's question is a good one. Like, is there a point in here where the mayor can decide to have the flag lowered for some other reason, such as this terrible massacre that happened in BC or something? I just want to make sure there's something in there that allows those one-offs.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Through the chair, just under the responsibilities where we have that line about any special requests received outside of the annual community request will be approved by council. But then on the mayor and clerk, or the mayor and CEO and the clerk be authorized to lower or like raise the flags. So that's just that standard. I mean, we can elaborate on that piece a little bit, but basically what that line means, right?
Yeah.
I thought it
maybe
would.
Try to spell out every
Yeah.
circumstances. It's gonna get too difficult. There has to be a certain amount of flexibility. It's a little like, you know, if a council member died on a Monday and their funeral is until Saturday, that's beyond the 3 days, you know, so you'd more than likely keep it until the funeral at that point. It's not the shorter out, you know, I think there has to be just some flexibility in all this that we
I think I just
that.
again, the responsibilities, the mayor, CAO, or clerk will authorize the lowering. So does that mean then that if there's a one-off that they have the authority to do? That's what I want to make sure is in here. Because it says special requests received outside of the annual community request will be approved by council. So that's where I'm just trying to make sure there's flexibility here.
Right.
We also have the wording under the half-masting section where it says any circumstances that deviate from the time period will be at the discretion of the mayor and CEO or clerk. So we've got some extra wording in there.
Okay, so that's another example though, where you have the wording mayor and CAO or clerk. So it means these two have to be together or you, and I just don't think that's what we mean. So it should be mayor or CAO or clerk.
Please read the resolution.
Moved by Councillor Johansson, seconded by Councillor Saney, that council receive report 2608, administration policy 108, flag etiquette and protocol as information, and further that council approves amendments to policy 108.
All those in favor? That is carried. Let's go to the next one. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so sorry, the next report before council is with respect to the reimbursement of expenses for members of council attending meetings and conferences. So the policy was presented to council January 22nd. Council did request a few changes under the guiding principles. So the changes have been made within the report. It's outlined. Council will be permitted to have an equivalent expense amount of 2 annual conferences for each member of council instead of having just above a budget approval. And the second was an automatic reimbursement for mileage for council meetings and attendance at council meetings. And happy to address any questions that council may have.
Any questions? Seeing none.
Moved by Councillor Johansson, seconded by Councillor Saney, that council receive report 2609, administration policy 11, reimbursement of expenses for members of council attending meetings and conferences as information, and further that council approves the amendments.
All those in favor? That is carried. Madam CAO, talk to us about ICE.
Yeah, let's not talk about ICE. No, through you, Mr. Mayor, I think this is a good news item. As council knows, council directed us to apply to the municipal ice storm assistance program. And we have been notified that based on their formula, we should be receiving just over $317,000 in reimbursement. And what we're just looking for is authorization from council for the Director of Finance, Treasurer, and the Mayor to sign the transfer payment agreement.
Anybody object to us receiving money? Any questions?
Moved by Councilor McKelvey, seconded by Deputy Mayor Shell, that council receives report 2610 admin municipal ice storm assistance update for information, and that bylaw 2622 authorizing the Director of Finance, Treasurer, and the Mayor to execute the transfer payment agreement be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda.
All those in favor? That is carried. And meeting schedule, this is you.
Me. So, through the chair, the report from our council, is seeking approval for a change to the 2026 council meeting schedule, date for the month of April. We did bring this report forward, in November to approve the whole entire regular, meeting schedule. However, at the time of the report, AMCTO had actually scheduled our in-person election training for April 23rd, which has now changed to an April 9th date, which ends up being our first regular meeting of council in April. So staff is proposing to cancel the April 9th scheduled meeting date and actually have a special meeting on the 16th. And then just to keep that special meeting on the 30th so that it's an alternating. We will prepare the agendas similar to a regular council meeting.
Councilor Sisson.
I'd just like to clarify, Vicky, I thought Easter weekend was the 10th. Oh. Like to clarify, you say here's the 3rd and 6th?
Oh, I just meant the week because it's happening that week and it shortens the time period. It's just like it would just be an easier transition for staff and for council to have a meeting. So
Okay, thank you.
post the agenda. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, Councilor McKelvey?
There's a conference I was hoping to go to on April 30th, so if we're gonna change this meeting to what's proposed, I won't be going to the conference, I guess, but
So through the chair, the April 30th, I did change that date. That was approved in
I
November.
realize that.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if we can't go back to the regular meeting schedule. In between. Then I guess you're back to back.
Yeah.
It would save costs. Two special. meetings.
Unless you want to reduce to one, again, that's another. And just have it on the 16th and have,
Switch. I think we should keep two booked. Any questions? Make the resolution.
moved by Councilor McKelvey, seconded by Councilor Sisson, that council receives report 2611 administration amendment to the 2026 regular council meeting schedules information, and that council approves the change in meeting date for the month of April.
All those in favor? It's carried. Resolution closed.
Moved by Councilor Sisson, seconded by Councilor McKelvey, be it resolved that council proceed into closed session at 9:58 a.m. for the purpose of discussing two items pursuant to section 239(2)(b) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Legal update ×2.
Those in favor? It's carried. All right, we will be moving into closed session. When we come back into open session, it's mostly just for administrative issues. But we will go into closed session at 10:15 a.m. Thank you. And we're back. Read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Ingram, seconded by Counselor Sini. Be it resolved that the closed session adjourned and open session resumes at 10:34 a.m.
All those in favor? That is carried. Report from closed session.
Moved by Counselor Sini, seconded by Counselor Ingram. Be it resolved that direction given in closed session be approved.
All those in favor? That is carried. Bylaws, any comments, questions? Counselor McKelvey?
I see we're passing the water and wastewater rates. One of the things I thought was supposed to come back to us was what the aqua increase was, because there was conflicting information. Aqua at one point said 9%. Somebody said something else, and it was supposed to come back. And I assume the actual agreement with Aqua will come back to us.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the actual agreement will come back. I had just texted our treasurer that we were moving on to bylaws. I can assure you that the aqua increase is not 9%.
It just would be nice to know what it is. Fair enough. Plus, I just wanted, just a reminder, we're gonna pull out that tiered response. Okay.
Bylaws? Yep.
The
Do you want to-
treasurer's,
do you want to
and the treasurer, he asked that question, or does he have it? Okay, well, it was mentioned at the budget meeting, and it would
Right.
come back to us, so I was just asking about the aqua increase, if we knew it.
Through the chair, we don't know yet.
Thank you. We're setting a budget then without that information. We don't know what the increase is for aqua, which is one of the biggest expenses in the water and wastewater.
We do have that information. I guess, had we known the question was going to come forward, we could have been prepared.
Okay, I'm
to
sorry,
answer the
I didn't
question.
know I had to ask it again, like it was at the budget meeting, we were told that that would come back to us, so that's why I'm asking. Because as you know, the gentleman on the screen that day was saying it's a 9% increase and staff were saying no, so, and I
no.
distinctly remembered that it was to come back, but I'm just asking. We're doing the budget bylaw for water and wastewater services, so.
Right.
Through the chair, apologies, I thought you were talking about the Aqua contract for, because we're under contract, I believe, until June, yeah. So we don't have increases on the new contract coming out. The water rates presented in the bylaw today were based off the rate study report that came at budget.
Thanks.
Right.
Moved by Counselor Sani, seconded by Counselor Johansson. Be it resolved that the following bylaws be received, read a first time, considered, read a second and third time, and finally passed with a corporate seal affixed. Bylaw 2612, PLSRA 2024055. Bylaw 2613, PLSRA 2025066. Bylaw 2614, to execute an agreement to extend courthouse lease. Bylaw 2615, to authorize the land lease renewal of OPP. Bylaw 2616, borrowing of money. Bylaw 2617, interim tax levy. Bylaw 2618, water service for Letterwood Pines community. Bylaw 2619, water service for the village of Minden. Bylaw 2620, water service in the village of Minden. And bylaw 2622, to execute a transfer payment agreement for the MISA program.
All those in favor? Carried. Confirming bylaw.
Moved by Deputy Marshall, seconded by Councilor McKelvey, that bylaw 2623, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council held during its meeting of February 12th, 2026, be received, read a first time, considered, read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed.
All those in favor? It is carried. Adjournment.
Moved by Councilor Sisson, seconded by Councilor McKelvey, be it resolved that the February 12th, 2026 regular council meeting is hereby adjourned at 10:39 a.m.
All those in favor? That is carried. We have a prioritization survey available on our website until Friday, February 27th, and we need your input. So it's a short survey. Please take a few minutes and complete it when you can. It'll help us build a strong and informed strategic plan for our community. Thank you, everybody. The next council meeting scheduled for Thursday, February 26, 2026 at 9 a.m.